Hello and welcome to the program. I'm John Taylor. Human milk for human babies. It's a simple equation capable of saving hundreds of young lives and millions of dollars in the health system. Other countries have banks of frozen milk for babies whose mothers can't provide it. They're often premature babies whose lives might hang in the balance for weeks. But in spite of being one of the most medically sophisticated countries in the world, Australia has only one milk bank in Western Australia. A federal inquiry recommended $1 million funding to set up a milk bank in Queensland, but for 3 years the project has been shuffled back and forth between the state government and Canberra. Karen Berkman reports.
Of all human relationships, the bond between mother and baby is perhaps the most fundamental and the most profound. On it rests the future of the human race. Mother's milk is uniquely adapted to satisfy the baby's immediate need for nutrition, and it also protects the baby's health lifelong.
It's really simple, human milk for human babies. It's not rocket science.
But creating a store of that precious substance for babies who desperately need it is up there with putting a man on the moon.
We're one of the few countries in the world that doesn't have milk banks. Next year is the International Year of Milk Banking, the centenary of milk banking. We are third world on an international level.
What the rest of the world has been doing for almost 100 years, Australia is still trying to get off the ground. The country's only milk bank was established at the King Edward Hospital in Perth in 2006 by Rotary and now runs on state government funding. It employs 2 people and has already helped save the lives of 240 babies by providing them with a substance modern science still can't replicate. Premature babies have first priority.
So those babies are especially vulnerable, and human milk is the only thing that will help them.
Infection is the big killer of premature babies, but if they're fed human milk, their survival rates are much higher.
Often with preterm mothers, you find that they have had a preterm baby because of an illness that they have themselves, and so often you find that they are not able to produce enough milk, or their milk is slow in coming in because they're physically debilitated.
Queensland's only fledgling milk bank operates out of the John Flynn Hospital on the Gold Coast. It's a charity, run on donations, staffed by volunteers, driven by the woman whose day job is managing the hospital's maternity wing. On top of that demanding role, she'll put in another 20 hours a week for the milk bank because she knows what it can do.
It's a win-win all round. Everyone wins out. The babies win, the health of the baby's long term, the savings in costs is incredible. It really is.
These little twins are living proof. They're thriving now, but it was touch and go when they were born 12 weeks early.
They were only a couple of pounds each, so 1192 grams and 1011.
When they were first born, they would both fit in the palm of my hand.
The twins spent a month in intensive care in Brisbane. When they were transferred to John Flynn Hospital, they were still making slow progress, although Stephanie was expressing milk around the clock.
Every few hours to start with, and all through the night, I was just desperate to get enough milk for these twins to survive, because breast milk is, liquid gold to any preterm and sick baby.
But when they started to draw supplies from the milk bank, their health improved dramatically.
As soon as they started on the natural mother's milk, you could see the improvement in their health basically overnight.
They didn't look back. Their progress was just incredible.
They just turned 2 and they're got no ongoing health problems, and they're fantastic.
The Alley twins were saved by local donor mothers who express milk, which is then pasteurised to kill any viruses, including HIV.
Internationally, there's never been anything transmitted through pasteurised donor milk, ever. It is extremely safe.
The Queensland Milk Bank already has 500 donor mothers ready to provide milk. It has a good supply and storage. What it needs is $1 million to establish the means of bringing supply and demand together.
It really is a drop in the ocean for the infrastructure to have a huge impact on so many babies. I don't understand why someone doesn't say, here it is.
Enter George Doniger, Currumbin grocer, ex-footballer, sports commentator and marathon runner, who's going to ride his bike 2,000 kilometres all the way to Cairns to raise $50,000 for the milk bank. He found out about its need for funding from his daughter, who works at the John Flynn Hospital.
She came to me a couple of months ago and said that the thing was going to close down and that they needed at least $40,000 to keep it going. And so I thought, well, what can I do? So this is what I came up with. And I'm not just doing it to raise the money either, because the milk bank is obviously, as people appreciate, is a very important thing, but we don't have them in Australia. What I'm trying to do by cycling up there for 20 days is making people aware that there is a thing as a milk bank, and I'm sure once a lot of people know that there is something like that, the support will come, or I hope so anyway.
Support from the federal government seemed certain last year after its inquiry into the benefits of breastfeeding. Its findings overwhelmingly endorsed the principle that all babies should be exclusively breastfed for the first 6 months of life.
Parents often don't realise the significance of the health benefits and the long-term health impact for a baby that doesn't receive human milk. And we do hear that, you know, oh, the bottle's just as good. But it isn't.
The inquiry found breastfeeding cut the risk of digestive tract infections by 40%. Babies who are not breastfed are 4 times as likely to get pneumonia and twice as likely to suffer recurrent ear infections. Human milk also reduces childhood cancer by 18%, fights asthma, allergies and childhood obesity. As long ago as 1980, the World Health Organization recommended the establishment of milk banks.
They're all over Europe, all over everywhere, but not in Australia, which seems incredible, doesn't it?
The federal inquiry evidently thought so too, recommending a feasibility study with a pilot program at the John Flynn Hospital and Perth's King Edward Hospital. The milk bank's future seemed assured. But 1 year later, it's back to square one. The milk bank is still awaiting funding from the federal or state governments.
We're still here doing business plans. We have a multitude of mothers wanting to give us milk. We have requests from mothers for milk. We have the equipment. We have freezers full of milk. We're still waiting for the funding.
Come next March, George Donninger will be riding his bike 100 kilometres a day, and it's likely Maria Ryan will still be saying no to parents who really need milk for their babies.
It's heart-wrenching to have to say no to people. It really is, because they're struggling, they're desperate. I have fathers ring me up and not wanting them, you know, their wife to know that they're trying to access milk. I'll pay anything. Can you give me the milk? What do I need to do? I don't want my wife to know, you know.
Australian health authorities at every level say they support breastfeeding and endorse the concept of milk banking, but money is slow to flow. George, at least, is on his bike, raising money and awareness.
I'll do anything to raise the money. I don't mind. Anybody who wants to sponsor me, let me know what you want me to do, and I'll do it for you.
The Queensland Government says it supports the milk bank, but it's a federal issue. The Federal Health Minister, Nicola Roxon, says she's considering the milk bank's formal proposal.